Quails are usually hard birds to get a good look at.
The widgeons are coming around the corner like that.
Yeah. A roving band of angry widgeons. Like if you could draw a line from this tree on the right towards the middle, there's a little duck sitting out there by itself. She's got a tail sticking up in the air. That's a completely different group of duck than the other ones. That's a ruddy duck.
Oh, it's stiff-tailed.
Stiff-tail, right.
That's kind of got a brown top with a little white on the face.
Ruddy ducks are different from most of our other ducks. When they replace their feathers, which is called molting, they actually act a lot like a songbird. They have like one complete molt per year just before the breeding season. So these birds will shortly be turning, they look very different. Bright, reddish brown color through most of their body, black crown with that big white cheek patch and a sky blue bill. They're really beautiful birds. Whereas our other ducks actually go through two molts. They have one after the breeding season, which is called an eclipse molt. The males look a lot like the females at that time. And that's because most of our waterfowl do sort of an odd thing. They shed all their feathers at one time, all their flight feathers, which means they can't fly. That's the grackle. That's the great-tailed grackle. It's a member of the blackbird family, which also includes the oriole. Yeah, they're pretty good size. They have a very long tail.
Where'd they go?
Well, there's some straight all the way straight,
oh, yeah,
but most of them we can't see because they're in the far end.
The shoveler used that bill to get in the mud and
no, actually, they can use it for that. Usually what they do is they just have their head, their bill just in the water, and they're skimming off the top like algae and
whales.
Yeah. And a lot of times what you'll see is they're one of the few ducks that do it. They'll get in a big group of about anywhere from like 5 to about 20, and they all swim in a circle.
Oh.
And they're actually, because it's in shallow water, and by that swimming, it's sort of stirring up the bottom and sort of bringing food to themselves. This looks like one of the red tails in the race Fuertesii, which means it's a migrant here. It's not here during the breeding season. It probably is not the resident race of red tail that we have, which tends to be much buffier in coloration on the underparts, so kind of a whitish belly with dark streaking on it. What's the best way to identify raptors? And my answer is always learn the red tail first, because it's the most common one first of all, and it's also very variable in what it looks like.
We're under it. Wow, that is something.
And the ones that were headed like on a beeline north are now circling again.
So Tom, I just did an estimate. Each little cluster, a cluster about so big, I just said is 20. I counted about 25 of those clusters, which 20 times 25 is about 450, yeah? Mm-hmm. So, good guess.
I was off by 4.
Don't let that happen again.
Yeah. We won't let you come on the trip again.
We're nothing if not precise.
Yeah, how do they count birds? When you say 40,000 something...
One way to do it is they take a picture and they count how many are in a group, and then they determine how many, like in a block, and how many blocks do they have, and then they just multiply. I mean, when they say 40,490, I think there's a pretty good chance they didn't actually sit there and count 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, back home when we used to count cranes, we wouldn't even really see them. We would just put down guard call, or we would put down the calls. And I guess they guessed by the number of calls.
Oh, that could, yeah. There's different methodologies to come up with. And they usually are pretty close to the actual numbers, but it's more of a general guideline as opposed to.
Yeah. I think they probably have
getting some
idea.
fantastic pictures.
Cheryl, what do you mean by guard call?
Well, they have different calls they
one
make.
group disappeared into the...
Which I can't imitate. I mean, but you could hear the different...
Yeah.
Would they make a different call based on how many of them there are? How big the group is?
We would write down, we would just make a mark for each call we would hear.
But then how did you know that one bird wasn't itself going call, 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 call?
Well, depended on the area it was coming from, and if you'd hear them in another area, and, in other words, they were getting ready to do
Start knocking down
overhead. They're right overhead right now.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Now I know what they're. When I hear that sound, I know what I'm hearing.
I've actually seen them where they pick up, they were dancing, you know, mating, and pick up a clod of dirt, toss it over their head. Yeah, so,
They're right above.
yeah, they can have a different coloration.
The red on top of that one, the neck head sticking way up.
What do we do?
Do you want me to get the
Get
scope
out?
up?
Can we get out or not? Will we scare them? If we come out
It's hard to
slowly,
say.
kind of
You
one
never
at a
know.
time.
These
We
birds.
voted not to go out because we didn't want to scare them. I'm with you there. Yeah.
That's from the water. That's not a color in their feathers. It's basically their stain from iron oxide, basically, like rust. It stains their feathers. When they molt, then that color will go away and they'll look all gray like the rest of them. Get a good view of them flying off. Flying around. They do a lot of this. They move around a lot. They'll fly, then they'll fly.
There they go.
They are somewhat skittish around people because they are hunted someplace.
Actually, it's probably the agriculture that's given us these numbers.
Yeah. Notice how they just sort of cup their wings. Parachute, you sail down, they have their feet dangling beneath them. They don't weigh that much. They weigh a lot less than we would think. We have some more over here. Those are all coming right here. No, they're pretty much the males and females up and then, storing up fat and whatnot for migration, and they kind of go on a more concerted push after that. But yeah, they'll leave here, and they'll leave here probably in another month to 6 weeks. So most of them will be gone, and then you get into they go east, northeast, and then it'll be another 4 or 5 weeks before they actually start heading. They have, I don't know, they used to. I assume they still do, like birding tests all over Nebraska to see. Oh, you would think so.
Tucson, Audubon people are coming here today. I was finally reading the magazine.
Owl territory, and they're cruising through from across the farmer's land, and they go across the road and they get nicked by a truck or a car. So there's a lot of losses that way. The other part is owls only live a year or two in the wild because it's a boom and bust. If it's a wet year and there's a lot of plants, a lot of seeds, a lot of mice, a lot of owls.
Their feet are mammoth for their size of their body. And they can kill everything up to the size of